Alright guys, I'm just making a quick video. Um, so with a couple of good videos on YouTube, I was able to produce my own batches of wine. So I have 3 half-gallon bottles. Every single one of these bottles has no sugar added into the juice. I did the best I could with the ingredients of what I had, but it seems like everything is working. So basically, you see my bubblers at the top. The one you see on the far left is just pure apple juice. The one in the middle is apple cider, and the one to the right is going to be strawberry kiwi. So basically, out of these half-gallon bottles, I used about 2 cups of sugar, or it calls for 1.75 for a half gallon. I just go with 2 cups. It's the same. It doesn't make much of a difference. So usually what I do, and this is I found best results, as you look at the one on the left, you can see, now let's shine the flashlight, hopefully we can see some fizz in here. You can see that it's fizzing quite a bit at the top. That right there is going to be the one that I did not heat up the juice. And usually what I like to do is I like to heat up the juice, not get it real hot, but just enough to where when I put the 2 cups of sugar in, it will dissolve easily into the heated up juice. The one in the middle and the one on the right, I did heat up the juice, and I used 2 different sugars. Okay, so the apple cider in the middle, I used brown sugar for that. As you can see, once again, it's fizzing quite nicely. Even foamed up at the top when I first started. Something that this one didn't do, but as you can see, it's fizzing quite nicely too. So I guess that it really doesn't matter. This one, the apple cider with the brown sugar, is going pretty good right now. And this is only the second day. This is the kiwi. This is all the kiwi strawberry. And this is also going really good, as you can see. And this one also foamed up. And I also used, I also heated up the juice for this one. Okay. One thing to know, and just some people do it differently. I like to clear out my juice. I like it a lot clearer. Some people don't care. They drink it, once it's done fermenting. They basically just pour it off and decant it and, try to degas it, and then they drink it. Okay, well, what I like to do is once these are done fermenting, which it's going to take, up to 14 days, or until basically it stops bubbling. Okay, I use the same type of yeast on every single one of these, which was the EC1118. Basically, it's a very hyperactive yeast. It's made by Lalvin, and it basically eats all the sugars and everything inside there, and you can see that it works pretty furiously. This is every single one As you can see, this is every single bottle is fizzing nicely. It's producing the carbon dioxide. And if you look right up here, you can see the bubblers going. And you know, this is not necessary. You can actually use the caps um, to see to actually get the same result. But I just spent a little bit of money. I went down to a homebrew store here in Vegas, and I went and got a couple different types of bubblers. Basically, you just fill it up with water. It keeps the air from getting inside because you don't want a lot of oxygen. You want some when you first start the process of your fermentation, but you don't want to keep getting air in there, because what happens is you're going to get a bad taste to your wine, and you don't want that. You want a better quality wine. So I would suggest, if you have the chance, that you go ahead and you get these bubblers. Okay. So basically, this has been, I started the first one. You can see it was on the 26th, and the rest of these I did on the 28th. So they got a ways to go. So when it's done, I'm going to do a second video to show you guys. And basically, as you can see, no sugar added. No sugar added. This one, same thing. It was just regular apple juice, no sugar added. It was actually a Kroger, the Kroger, just regular apple juice. So I'm thinking that this is going to produce a very high yield wine with the type of yeast that I used. It will probably be somewhere around 12 to 16%. I will check it with when it's done. So anyway, I just want to do this quick video and show you guys how easy it is to make your own wine. Make sure that you check your regulations in your county or your state. Make sure you're not, doing this illegally. But if you're just kind of making up batches for yourself like this is the quickest and easiest way, because these bottles are sanitized when they're at the manufacturer, before they're even putting this juice in there. Because part of doing your fermentation process and getting it started real good is to make sure that everything is clean. And so I cleaned everything with an iodine solution that I also bought from a homebrew store, and then it cost nothing. It basically cost me $6.50 for a bottle that's going to last me forever. And I totally suggest, if you haven't done this before, you give it a shot. There is a process once it's done fermentating. You're going to see at the bottom, you're going to start seeing a sludge, which you don't really see yet, because you do see it maybe slightly here, but you're not going to see it until, as you can see on this one, you see a little bit of a sludge. You see that there's a little bottom layer. That's going to build up. That's going to get a lot thicker. It's not going to get real thick, but that's what when you go and pour this juice out into an empty container, that is what you're trying to get rid of. And there's different things that you can do to this juice. You can either just add sugar and yeast and do it like that, but I use the yeast. I use different types of sugars. I use white sugar for the juicy juice and the apple, and I use brown sugar for the apple cider. I heard it just gives it a better flavor. Can't wait to try that out. Also, I put a yeast nutrient, which costs nothing. Same place. I got it from the homebrew store. You can get all this type of stuff online too if you don't have a homebrew store around you. And also for if you're going to take juice and you're going to make it into wine, um, you're going to want to, maybe if you want to clear up your juice, you're going to want to get a pectic enzyme. Okay, and basically all it is just a powder. You're putting it in there, and what it's doing is helping bringing all your pectins down to the bottom. So eventually, this apple juice, which looks kind of cloudy, once it's done fizzing and doing its thing, you're going to notice it's going to get a lot clearer. And I'll take a picture of all these when it's done. So this is basically up in my closet. It doesn't get real cold and it doesn't get real hot. It can stay dark, even though wines, you don't want to put it in direct sunlight. Light is not going to hurt a wine batch. Now, if you were doing beers, giving it sunlight and stuff would definitely change the taste. It might even make it taste a little bitter, a little skunky. So I mean, but it's up to you. I've had these out sitting on the fridge when I first started, and noticed that the fridge, just the metal for the top of the fridge, got way too cold. So I went to the closet. Basically, it's just got a wooden shelf, painted wooden shelf, and looks like everything's going nicely. So if you guys haven't done this before, give it a shot. Like I said, you don't need the bubblers at the top. You can if you want to. They cost somewhere around $2 a piece. But as you can see, I got the lids to every single one of these bottles at the bottom. And you can put the lid on the top of these things, tighten it up, and then loosen it up to a point where if you were to squeeze the bottle, it would pop up but not off. Okay, very important, because basically what's happening is it's going to allow the CO2 to escape, and when the CO2 has bubbled, like as you see here in these bubblers, and that's what's happening, the CO2 is escaping but air can't get in because of the water. Same thing's going to happen with these caps. It's going to push the cap up, allow the CO2 to release, which is basically the after effect of the fermentation process. And it's important because if you had the lid on tight, it's going to blow your bottle up. Okay, as you can see, these things are fizzing. These things are going pretty good, and I can't wait to. I have a couple friends that are waiting to see how these batches are going to go. Be honest with you, this kiwi strawberry is actually just really taking off right now. And then this cider, boy, I think it's going to taste really good with that brown sugar. And basically, this is just my regular white sugar. Didn't heat up the juice in this one, and as you can see, this one's going pretty good too. But I think these ones actually are going a little bit better. These are the ones that I heated up the juice, where I put in the sugars. Like I said, the apple cider has the brown sugar, and the juicy juice has just regular white sugar. But each one, I heated up the juice. Not hot, not boiling, basically to a lukewarm. And what I do is I use half the bottle into a sanitized pot, and I dissolve my sugar, and then I use a sanitized funnel, and I put it back into this bottle with the juice that's left in it. And that right there cools your juice that's in the pot back off to a point where you can add your yeast. And if you're not familiar with doing this process, you can basically just dump your yeast into these bottles, and it would still do the same thing. But just through experience and what I've seen in more experienced wine brewers, they like to activate their yeast by putting it into a bowl with a little bit of the juice, lukewarm, and they also, you add a little bit of sugar into that bowl, and what you're doing is you're getting your yeast started. Okay, and I did that for all 3 of these bottles. And then you basically just pour it in, put in your pectic enzyme and your yeast nutrient. Um, so just to let you know, let's say you don't have a yeast nutrient and you want to give it something to eat off of. So basically, black tea is very good to add into these wine batches because it has tannins in it. Okay, and also as a yeast nutrient, you can use raisins. Yes, raisins. You can put raisins into your wine batches, and that is a yeast nutrient. Okay, there's different things that we can use that you don't have to buy. People have been making wine for years, and for over 1,000 years now, there's been wine, and they didn't. They had to come up with their own ways to make the yeast, get stronger and fermentate better. Okay. So anyway, this is my 3. I have 2 more bottles. I actually went out and got my next batch is going to be apple cider. Okay, because I actually like the apple cider. I think that gives it a more tart flavor. Same bottle that you see right here, but I went and, instead of just getting regular brown sugar, I got dark brown sugar. I think that has more molasses in it, and that might give it a really good flavor. So anyway, this is going to end my video, guys. I know there's going to be questions. As you see right here, there's my bubblers on the top. Like I said, you can use these lids. You don't need to have the bubblers. But if you have any questions, just give me, go ahead and message me, and I'll be free to answer any of the questions that you have. This process is so easy, guys. It takes 10 to 15 minutes. And, if you just do it slow, methodical, and next thing you know, you're going to have a batch, a couple batches of wine going. After 2 weeks, there's another process where you're going to crash your yeast. Make sure that, or you can just leave it going for 3 weeks. It's not going to hurt it. But basically, if you want to get this ready to drink, I would suggest that you crash the yeast once you get ready to filter everything out of it and try to get the juice in the wine as clear as possible. Okay, guys? So I won't talk about this anymore, but basically I just wanted to share this with you. Kind of excited about it. I have some batches going. It's been a while since I've done some batches. It came down to a budget thing, but I'm very excited. I think that these ones are going to produce some good alcohol. Like I said, 12 to 16% with the EC 1118 Lalvin yeast, which is basically a high. It basically eats everything. It eats all the sugars. It's really good yeast, and it's made for champagne. Okay, you'll see some yeast out there, Red Star, is made for winemaking and stuff. And I'm not saying any of that's bad. You can even use bread yeast, guys. You can use fast-acting, dry activated bread yeast, and you're going to make wine. But this, when you have a better yeast like the one I'm using, is going to produce a wine that's higher in alcohol content than regular bread yeast. Not only that, I think the bread yeast gives it a bready taste, and you can almost smell it. With this yeast, you'll know the difference. But you know, play with it, try it out. If you like to have a little bit of homemade wine, like I said, this is going to produce some really good stuff. I've never done this kiwi strawberry, and I can't wait to taste this stuff. I think this is going to be fantastic. Although this cider this time of the year, um, I think this cider with the brown sugar in it is going to be fantastic. Anyway, guys, you have a good one. Good luck on your adventures. Hopefully, this helped you guys out a little bit. So, I'm going to do a second video to these when they're done and just kind of show you what I do to clear them up. I have a siphon, and I'm probably not even going to use that because I'm pretty good at pouring out the wine and basically getting all the impurities and the dead yeast that's going to collect at the bottom of your bottles here. Okay. And if you pour it nice and slow, and you'll be able to clean those bottles out. You can sanitize them, and you can reuse these bottles. That is a suggestion, because when you go to pour into another container, you want to make sure you have something to pour it into. And I always have empty bottles like this where they're sanitized and ready for the wine. Anyway, you guys have a good day.